Hello, everyone.
Hello, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for coming. So I was
Okay,
late
sir.
because I was waiting for more people to join. When I checked the platform and I saw people, I said, let me just wait a little bit. So I think now we are 6, so we don't have to wait further. Let's just begin the session. So once again, good evening, and I hope everybody is doing well. I don't know how much you guys have studied in this lesson. Have you done? Have you been through some before? That's the critical. Anybody? Has anybody done so? I guess so, as usual. So let me just share my screen. Okay. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
All right. So today's technology, and in this looking at 4 sections and subsections. We're starting with multi-sensory systems. In Nigeria, we say sensory systems, but the right pronunciation is multi-sensory systems. Then we'll look at multi-systems in Nigeria. Then we'll look at speech systems. We'll look at problems in speech recognition, speech-related human interaction technologies. We'll be looking at sound system as well, one sound system. We'll be looking at the recognition as well as gestures. And then, of course, we'll be looking at devices that help people with special needs or people with disabilities. So this is what today's session is going to be about. Please just give me 1 second. So let's start with the introduction. So today, this session discusses advanced technologies used in human computer interaction. Okay, and these are technology that we hope will improve user interactions between humans and computers by making the interaction looks more natural and more efficient. And in so doing, we'll be looking at these areas which we've just mentioned in the heading and the subheading. We'll be looking at multisensory as well as multimodal and then multimedia systems. And of course, they are all designed in order to help users with special needs or users with disabilities or even people who are older. Okay, sometimes sight is not good for them. Their hearing is also sometimes not very good. So how are we going to make computer environment useful for them in such a way that they can actually benefit from what we are also benefiting from. So this is basically what this is going to be all about. Okay, so we're going to start with the first topic, which is the multi-sensory systems. Okay, now based on the notes, it says that more than one sensory channel are involved in interaction, as in sound, text, hypertext, animations, videos, gestures, and vision. Now, what this is trying to say is that as far as the senses are concerned, when I say senses, talking about the human senses, the eye, the hearing, the nose, okay, the nose also, and then of course the skin. Now, these are what we call the sensory channels. Now, these sensory channels are somehow involved in interaction, such as sound, text arrangements, particularly for users with special needs and virtual reality. Now, when we talk about virtual reality, I think in the last few lectures we've been mentioning the virtual reality, where we mentioned how we even give an example of when I okay and how now the component of the multisensory systems are: number one, we have the speech, we have the non-speech sound, we have the handwriting, and then together within their applications and principles. Now we'll start with user senses. Okay, we have sound, okay, we have the sight, the sound, the touch, the taste, and then the smell. Now, this is by all together, and they provide a fuller interaction with natural world. And sometimes we can utilize the computer to use all the available senses, but this becomes practically impossible because we come to all kind of usable senses all together at once, which is very. So I'm not saying that the computers cannot see, because they see these days, and we can't say the computers can't hear, they hear. Detectors. When there is a smoke in a particular room, usually we have sensors that can actually detect the smoke, and then the sprinkler will open, and then the water will start falling, and then so example of instance, okay, sounds, and that is and sometimes senses can was written just a few years back, before these advancements or these developments have come to existence. Because today all these sensors are actually this 5 trillion. If I disagree that these are things that we can actually achieve these days. Now, in the human computer interaction, computers usually, according to them, they can actually they use certain and monitor by the haptic devices in order to feel or to utilize the senses. For example, the sight. In terms of the sight, we have the monitors and the graphics. Okay. In terms of the sound, we have the audios, we have the speech recognition, and so on. Now, moving to the next topic. These use more than one sense, okay, of interaction, as in visual and oral senses. For example, a text processor may speak the words as well as echo them to the screen, which I believe is all common and possible these days. If you have a Microsoft Office these days has the ability to get words dictated into the system. You can actually dictate the words to the system, and then the system can actually translate whatever you dictate into digital data, and then it is now represented on the visual screen. Okay, so when we are talking about the multimodal system, we're actually talking about a system that has more than one mode of interaction. Okay, system that has more than one mode of interaction, which means one particular system can actually engage in a more versatile means of communication, such as the visual interaction, the audio interaction, the touch interaction, and then of course the gesture interaction. Now, one of the examples I can easily think of regarding, for example, speech, we can say microphones. Okay, microphones. We have speech recognition systems. Nowadays, even ChatGPT can actually recognize speeches, which is something that we never anticipated in the last few years. Okay. Next is the multimedia system. Now, in talking about multimedia system or multimedia system, these are systems that use different types of media to present information. Now, when we say they use different type of media to represent information, it means that at the same time, the text, the image, as well as audio, sometimes audio visual, and so on. Now, we can say that an example of this could be a computer-based learning system that uses a video lecture, or we can have a text explanation, or an image representation, a PPT, or type animations on a PPT, and so on. So this actually help improve understanding. Now, when if you remember in our first lecture, when I was giving my first lecture, some of you complained that the audio was not enough, that you were only able to listen to me, but you couldn't see what I was reading. So for that, you guys requested that next time when we're having class, use the course material, and which is why today and the previous days, we are using the course material to enhance to this much better and much improved. Okay, so that is it. Now let's move to the item, which is speech. Now, as we all know, speech is one of the most speech. Okay, now if we are talking about speech in the context of human interaction only, everybody knows that speech interaction allows humans to be able to communicate either using verbal or appear to present ideas. Now, if you go to a traffic light, you don't have to be told that red means stop and green means go. So you see, these are symbols that we use in order to communicate in the computers. Now, it could mean okay, now only work. Now, speech interaction, as we all know, is usually useful when sometimes hands are occupied. Okay, when hands are occupied, or sometimes user cannot. I gave a side, or sometimes when we feel occupied. Or sometimes people who enjoy this the most are people with physical disabilities. Somebody with a physical disability can actually click on dictate and automatically it will dictate communicate with you. Let me just speech communication is something that has been in use for a while now, and it has really solved a lot of problems, especially with special needs. In more, as you can just see, sometimes when I'm driving in my car, I don't have to start looking for. I don't have to, for example, open the map and then start the way to have to do. I just whether the map will open. You see, the map has just opened. Now, if I want, sometimes I can even tell the exact location. If I can actually do that. Let's see. So you didn't hear me. Sometimes speeches are not as good as I'm thinking maybe this is for class application. I'm not sure, but so uh, discuss very important terminologies, and one of those terminologies we'll be discussing is the phonemes. Now, why are we studying phonemes? Suddenly, we're looking at the structure of now the kind of concepts of speech. And even the computer itself, it has a way of breaking down the speech process into structures. And the smallest structure of uh, the one is the communication. The consonants are also of what we call the phonemes today. Okay, the consonants and the vowels. I don't think if there's anybody here who doesn't know what the consonants and the vowels are, because the consonants and the vowels are also the basic sound systems which we use in building up larger words and larger or more complex vocabularies. So in total, we have about 40 phonemes in English, and these 40 constitute of the vowels and the consonants. Now, another thing is what we call the allophones. Now, the allophones, according to definition, these are variations of phonemes depending on the context. Sometimes there are words in English that sound like, let's say, top and stop. Okay, top and stop. Now, these two words sound slightly different. They sound slightly different because when I say top and then stop, at times, if somebody is not careful, one might think I'm actually repeating one of these words. So these are called allophones. Now, another significant structure of speech is the morphemes. Now, what are the morphemes? Now, the morphemes actually look at let me highlight. This is morphemes, okay? This is the smallest unit of a meaning. Now, let's take one example of a word and then break it down into smaller units. Take the word unhappiness. Happiness. Happy. Now, the other end will become ness. Happiness. Okay? Unhappiness. Unhappiness. Now, this is what we call morphemes. So these are what we call speech. They are part of the speech.
Sorry,
Speech without looking at the morphemes.
Sorry,
What are you saying?
I said you
What are
keep
you
breaking. I don't know if it's your network or network. Hello.
students? Your mic and round. Are you having difficulty?
It keeps breaking.
Student.
Hello, sir. It keeps breaking. Hello.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it. Just give me one moment. I'm trying to fix it. Okay. Now the network. Is it okay? Voice. Is it okay? Students,
No, it
can
keeps
you please say something?
going off. It keeps coming on and going off. Hello.
Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, how is the connect?
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
The moment you said how is, it went off.
How is the connectivity now?
I'm sorry you're asking how is the connectivity now, but the moment you said how is, it went off again.
Please, class, is he the only person affected by this? Because it's kind of frustrating. the problem, I feel you with this.
Sir, I'm not
Nobody
only
is
him.
willing to
It's
speak.
general. It's
Not
general.
only
Your
him.
voice is breaking.
Okay. I think. Okay. Okay, just give it a few minutes.
Okay, sir.
Now, students, how is the network now?
It's better now, sir.
Pardon?
It's still breaking. No?
It's
Maybe
still
we should
breaking.
just manage that. It's still breaking. Hello. Hello.
Oh, let's give it. Um, how is the network now?
It is,
Yes, students,
sir.
it's better.
Yes, sir.
So before the network went off, we're talking about another structure of speech, which is the morpheme. And we say that the morphemes are the smallest units of meaning. And I gave you example with the word unhappiness. And we say that when we break the word into three, un, happy, and ness, if combined together, we form a more complex word. But when breaking them into pieces, we have what we call morphemes because each word or each unit represents a particular meaning within the structure. Now, another structure of the speech system is what we call the prosody. Now, let's zoom in and see the word. Where is the word? Where is the word? Where is the word? Aha. This is prosody. Okay, this is prosody. Now, prosody refers to what we call the sound system of the speech. Okay, it is what represents the tone, the pitch, the stress, as well as the pause in a particular speech statement. Now, when somebody is making a statement or when somebody is making a speech, sometimes you see that the way they use the language can indicate a high pitch or a low pitch. Now, let me give you example with something that happened to me once. I was studying abroad, and there was this place we used to gather as Nigerians, and we'll talk and chat and exchange pleasantries. So one day there was a foreigner who visited that particular place, and he heard the Nigerians talking, and everybody was shouting, pa 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 pa. Everybody was talking. We're talking about football. So he came and he was like, "I'm about to call the police unless you tell me what is happening here." Everybody was like, "So what is happening here?" He said, "You are fighting." They said, "Nobody is fighting. Do you see anybody fighting? We are just talking." So he said, "But how can you be talking with this loud voice?" Then somebody sat him down and said, "Actually, these are Nigerians, and Nigerians have a very high pitch. Now, when they speak, they raise their voice. Now, this act of raising your voice at certain places or at certain points is what we refer to as the prosody, okay? Because it deals with pitch, and pitch is the is the how do I define pitch? I'm just thinking. I think pitch is the decrease and the increase of speech when talking. Okay, so when speech increases at certain level, we have that pitch. And according to linguists, the linguist said in Nigeria, the people with the highest pitch are the Yorubas. I don't know why it is so, but according to study, it shows that in Nigeria, the people with the highest pitch are the Yorubas. So they have a very strong voice, very masculine, and people really, when sometimes when Yoruba speak, they kind of intimidate, so they don't take nonsense, that kind of stuff. So this is what we call pitch. Now, stress
Wow.
is somebody wants to say something. Hello, is somebody talking? All right, I
Eunice,
guess
talk.
nobody's talking. Oh, you wanted to say something? Please go ahead, say something.
She's Yoruba. I guess she wanted to say something.
Okay, oh, she's Yoruba, right?
Yeah,
Maybe she wants to give us the example of pitch. All right. So, so in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that the prosody actually refers to the alteration in tones and the quality of speech. Okay, and there are different variations that show emphasis at certain point, whether through the pitch or through the tone or through the stress or the pause. Okay, sometimes when we pronounce certain words, we give the stress in the beginning, sometimes we give the stress in the end, sometimes we give the stress in the middle. For example, somebody can say contemporary, contemporary. So the rise and the, and the, when the voice rises up or it goes down, that is actually what we call the stress. Okay, so that is stress. Now, moving to the next concept, which is syntax. Now, what is a syntax? Syntax refers to sentence structure, okay? And it is a term used to describe how sentences are structured in English, okay? So this is syntax. So even in computer speech, there are syntax, okay? And this syntax give us a definition of words right from their root words up to the larger words, okay? So this is a syntax. Now, another concept of importance is also known as semantics, okay? Now, while syntax refers to the study of structure of sentences, semantics refers to meaning of sentences. So semantics is about meaning. Sometimes, there are statements that could mean something when indeed they mean something else. There are a lot of them like that. Okay. So when we deal with semantics, it gives us an idea about meaning of words as well as the context in which certain words are spoken. So this is what semantics is all about. Now, moving forward to the next segment of this course is the speech-related human interaction technologies. Now, when we are talking about uh, speech-related technologies, the first one that comes to our mind is what we call the phonetic typewriter. Okay, so this was something that was developed by a man called Finnish, and he is probably a phonetic linguist, and this machine trained on one speaker and will generalize the training to others. Okay, so I believe this is a kind of typewriter that help people learn the phonics or the phonetics. And when we're talking about the phonetics, we're talking about sound system of a particular language. And there is a diagram indicating the type of device we are talking about. And as you can see, each and every button has a particular sound system. Now, let me show you something, maybe you will understand phonetics more. Let's say transcribe the word unfortunately. So let me show you something. Now, if you look at this this thing, let me just highlight it. Now, this is what we call phonetics. Okay, in phonetics, we are studying the sound system of a particular word. We're not studying the word actually, but we're studying the sound system of the word. Now, when you want to understand the meaning of word, you have to learn to say the words in this format, in this kind of transcribed format. Now, when you look at the typewriter here, the typewriter actually has the exact phonetic symbols that are actually found in this very transcribed word. And this word is unfortunately, okay? So if you look at the word, we can actually find the word construction in this particular typewriter, okay? Now, just let's pause for a while. Let's pause for a while. Just give me a minute. All right. So let's look at the next topic, which is usefulness of speech recognition. Now, we all know that it is useful for a single user or in a situation in which limited vocabulary system exists. For example, in a computer dictation, okay? Now, this is very important because if you remember, I gave you similar example in one of our previous classes where I mentioned that at times when giving a dictation to a system, sometimes we may end up using the wrong pronunciation. And using the wrong pronunciation can actually lead to system error, or it can lead to bad system recognition. The system may not be able to understand the word being uttered. So this is why it is very important to understand the phonetics of a particular word so that you know how exactly the word is being pronounced. Now, there is also another topic, which is speech synthesis. Okay. Now, when we are talking about speech synthesis, we're actually talking about computer generated speech. Okay. Now, what is a computer generated speech? A computer generated speech is a speech that we create for the system to actually utter. So when you ask the system to repeat something after you, right now, if I want, I can give you example of speech synthesis. Let me just open one of my books. I have this book, and it helps me in reading some of my books here in my library. So let me give you example with this book, which is the Atomic Habits. And now I'm going to ask the speech synthesis to read the book for me.
Is brand new. In the last 100 years, we have seen the rise of the car, the airplane, the television, the personal computer, the internet, the smartphone, and Beyonce. The world has changed much in recent years, but human nature has changed little. Similar to other animals on the African savanna,
So this is an example of what we call speech synthesis. This is a system-generated speech. It's not something done by humans, but rather it is a speech that is being spoken by a system. So the computer has to convert the text into spoken words. Okay, so this is an example of speech synthesis. Now, some of the uses of this includes what we call screen reading. Now, blind people find this very important because they cannot read with their own eyes, but when they click on, for example, let me hit on this to see if this will work. Okay, so a premium subscription before it can actually communicate. So let's forget about it. But
COSC 206.
It's
Introduction to Human-Computer Interaction Speech Synthesis. This is a generation of speech. It is useful because of its natural and familiar way of receiving information.
Very good.
It is.
So this is another example using Adobe Reader. Adobe Reader can also support speech synthesis. So it's a very important function of the computer-human interaction system. And some of the problems of this speech synthesis is that the moment you hear the word, you know it is a robotic voice. This is something that must have been generated by a robot. And there is a poor representation of words and poor representation of sound system, especially when local languages are used for speech synthesis. So this is the disadvantage. Okay. Now, if we look at the next topic, which is non-speech sound, when we say non-speech sounds, we're talking about sounds that are not musical in nature and that are not, they do not produce any meaningful statement out of the sound. For example, we all know that our mobile phones have what we call a ringtone. Now, when we look at the ringtone, let me see if I have a ringtone. Now, these are all examples of so all these are examples of non-speech sounds. We call them bips, we call them clicks, we call them alerts. Sometimes we call them notifications. And these sounds sometimes uh, can be very boring. Okay, so these are example of non-speech sounds. Okay, now the next in line is what we call the auditory icons. Now, what are the auditory icons? Okay, now auditory icons are natural sounds representing actions. Okay, now I don't know if you have ever noticed that whenever you delete something from your computer, it makes a sound that sounds very much like you are throwing something into the garbage. At times, when you delete something, it gives you a kind of crumpling sound, as if you're crumpling a paper. Okay. Now, these are what we call auditory icons. Any problem? Any problem, students? Somebody.
Hey.
Please, can you turn on? Can you turn off your? Let me see. Okay. Please give me a moment. Just 1 second, please. Okay, I'm back again. So, as I was saying, I was talking about the auditory icons, which I said that these are icons or these are sounds that are naturally represented by actions. Okay. When you drag your feet on the floor, it makes some sound, and that sound sounds very much like somebody is dragging his or her feet on the ground. That is one example. So another concept is called we call it air cons. Air cons. Now, what are air cons? Now, air cons are actually what we call synthetic structures or synthetic structured sound. Now, what is a synthetic structured sound? Now, this is a type of sound that is used to convey information. For example, if I try to open a particular file on my phone or on my laptop, and maybe there has been a password on that file, it gives me a kind of error message telling me that I cannot access the file. Maybe it can give me something like cling cling, you cannot access the file. The moment I hear that sound, I know I cannot access the file. Now, some of you who are used to posting on Facebook, the moment you post something on Facebook, it gives you one particular unique sound indicating that you have posted something on Facebook. Now, even if you wake up from sleep and somebody asks you what sound is that, you can actually tell them that this is the sound that we receive whenever we post something on Facebook. So this is what we call the Acorns sound. These are also synthetic structured sounds that sometimes represent a particular action. They are artificially created audio sounds that we use to represent certain actions. Now, the next topic we'll be talking about is recognition and gesture technologies. Now, recognition and gesture technologies are technologies that allow natural interaction using movements or sometimes using the touch, okay? When you use movement to send a particular message, or sometimes when you touch something to give a particular input, that is called gesture or recognition, okay? Now, this could mean touch recognition, or it could mean a handwritten recognition, or it could mean a gesture recognition to indicate movement. Nowadays, our phones, our mobile phones are equipped with sensor devices. And these sensor devices have the ability to sense our movement. For example, when you put on your mobile phone in your pocket and your chest is touching the screen, if the phone is good, it should be able to kind of block the response so that the phone is able to detect whether the gesture is from the thumb, that is the hand, or the gesture is coming from another part of the body, which is not supposed to touch the mobile phones. I don't know if you get this example. So if we start with the first one, which is the touch recognition includes vibration feedback. Sometimes when certain activities take place on our mobile devices, we get a vibration effect. That vibration effect is telling us that something is happening. At times, there is something we call the pressure sensing. Now, pressure sensing will occur when certain things happen accidentally or by force. Sorry. Now, another one is called force feedback. When a phone falls down, it cracks on the screen or it displays some type of lines on the screen to indicate that a damage has been incurred. That is called force feedback. Okay. Now, the other type of recognition is handwriting recognition. Handwriting recognition allows users to write on the screen. We've also given this example in one of our classes where we mentioned that PDAs as well as tablets can actually help us in writing on screen so that whatever is written on the screen can be represented on the output of the screen. That is for handwriting recognition. Then we have the gesture recognition, which uses hand movement or body movement to signify communication. Now, one of these is the sign language. Now, some people can actually use sign language to communicate with computers. Now, there are computers that are so advanced that people can actually control them using sign languages. Now, if you are watching the news, just recently, Mark Zuckerberg announced that one of their projects worth $80 billion was actually stopped because of its failure. Now, that particular technology is also talking about something to do with gesture recognition because it allows people to use certain devices that allow them to work in a virtual reality environment. Now, these are what we call the VR gesture controls, which are also very important during communication. Now, the next thing we'll be talking about is devices for elderly and devices for the disabled. Now, what are these devices? These are human-computer interaction devices that help people with special disabilities to navigate through their problems, such as what we call visual impairment, hearing impairment, as well as physical impairment or speech impairment. Now, all these are example of disabilities in humans. Visual impairment usually deals with impairment that prevents somebody from having access to their own eyes, while hearing impairments is the disorder that affects somebody from listening, and then the physical impairment is something that stops somebody from accessing certain part of their body. And then we have the speech impairment, which includes speech disabilities such as stammering, stuttering, and so on. Then we also have another type of disorder, which is called dyslexia. Dyslexia is also another speech disorder. We also have autism. Autism is also another physical challenge that affects people's communication as well as interaction. Now, each and every one of these impairments has a device that help people with these problems to navigate through their challenges. For example, the visual impairments devices include screen readers, speech synthesis, and audio interfaces. For hearing impairment, we have devices such as text communication, captions, gesture systems, and so on. Then we have the physical impairment, which we have devices which include speech input, eye raise systems, gesture recognitions, and predictive keyboards. Then we have the speech impairment devices, which include text communication and speech synthesis. Then we have dyslexia devices, which also include speech and reading assistance. communication, and they also have complex systems that enable them to adjust in environments such as learning environments and so on. Then we also have the elderly who also have special needs sometimes. Now, older people also benefit from large text interfaces. For example, if I do like this, it means I'm zooming. So this is a large text interface. I'm zooming something in order for me to see it clearly. So that is an example. We also have voice interactions. If they cannot interact with the screen, they can actually give command. They also have memory aids, something that can help remember attendance, have a lot of memory aids. Then the next topic is about so I guess this is our last topic, that is device for elderly and disabled. Okay. So I guess with this one, I think we've come to the end of today's session with this last topic, which is devices for elderly and the disabled. So this is, I think, the last part of it. The rest are just assignments as well as assessments. So I think we'll stop here and then we prepare for the next topic, which is under module number 2. And under module number 2, we'll be study session 1, where we'll be looking at user-oriented perspective of human-computer interaction, social human trust. This is the topic of Thursday. Okay, on Thursday we are going to look into this. Okay, so at this point I will allow you to ask questions or to contribute to what we have been doing. If anybody likes to contribute, please feel free to do so. Thank you very much. Anybody likes to comment or likes to ask a question? So I guess there is no question at the moment. So I will be downloading the video and I will be posting it in the group so that you can go and have access to it. One question I like to ask you is, when are you having a test? Is your test close by? Ready, please, to respond to this question?
I
Are
didn't
you
get
having
that.
test anytime soon? Are you having test anytime soon?
I thought it's the lecturers that normally set the test, sir.
Okay, but you have not been informed about any test, right?
No.
All right.
Are you not the one
Thank you very much.
who set it for us? I mean, quiz.
No,
Is it not?
it's DLC that organizes your test and your exams.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
DLC
It's
actually. Yeah.
okay. So that's not
Yes.
how we were previously.
Okay. So I don't know also. I will make inquiry about it and then I will let you people know.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So in the absence of questions, let's call it a day, and then I will pause the video and I'll let you know when I do that. Thank you so much, and I wish everybody a good night. So bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Good.